Welcome back. This is Rito here with another Calamity weapon showcase. We are looking at another legendary weapon, and this time it's a melee weapon. It's called the Cosmic Discharge, and it is so cool. It looks a lot like the familiar Solar Eruption, but it's basically the endgame super buffed version of the Solar Eruption. This powerful legendary weapon can be obtained by killing the Devourer of Gods. It's a 1% drop rate. This is such a great weapon. Let's go see what it can do against some target dummies and some bosses. Oh my goodness. This is so cool. We're doing like 150, 170. That's pretty good. 180,000. I even saw 190,000 there for a second. And this can shoot through the solid ground. It completely ignores blocks, and it can pierce infinitely. So it's very powerful. The only problem with it is that the range is a little limited. You see right here, I'm really close, and I'm doing 350,000. But if I'm just very at the edge of my range, I'm only going to get around 100,000. And the gear I'm using right now is Auric Tesla and all of my endgame accessories that I generally use, like the Celestial Tracers, Asgardian Aegis, Rampart of Deities, Elemental Gauntlet, the Sponge, Community, and Core of Blood God. So let's switch it over to some gear that we would have right after defeating the Devourer of Gods, like the Godslayer armor. And let's see what the damage goes to. Right there we were getting like 150,000. And if we get up close, we are still getting up to like 290, 300,000. One cool thing about this weapon is if you have it equipped with the Weapons Out mod, which is what makes my weapons appear on my back, it kind of looks like you have a little tail. It's kind of a funny look. But yeah, that's just the weapon on my back, and it's just showing the sprite. It's interesting though, because if you use the Solar Eruption, it just displays differently. This one displays as if it's like a sword, and this one is like how some items display. Let's take a quick look at what the Solar Eruption does. Like 3,000 damage. If we get really close, let's see what it can do. Like 4,000, 5,000. So yeah, the Cosmic Discharge is quite a bit stronger, and it does these explosions on impact, which is pretty sweet. Let's take a look at the tooltip for the Cosmic Discharge. I have it rolled to Legendary, and it has 2,932 melee damage, 87% critical strike chance, very fast speed, extremely weak knockback, and it shows that it's a legendary drop. Striking an enemy with the whip causes glacial explosions and grants the player the Cosmic Freeze buff. This buff gives the player increased life regen when standing still and freezes enemies near the player. And it's a Revengeance drop. So if we go ahead and attack right there, you'll see we have Cosmic Freeze, which is that buff that increases our life regen. And it's one of the only legendary weapons that can actually be crafted into something different. So let's go ahead and take a look. It is for the Apotheosis, and I've actually done a showcase video on the Apotheosis. It's a really powerful mage weapon, and it requires the Cosmic Discharge. So it's kind of cool that it's incorporated into another recipe. Next, I want to try this on an improved dummy from the Louis AFK mod and just see, wow, this is doing some serious damage. Especially for a weapon that you can get from the Devourer of Gods, doing 250,000 damage. And let's go ahead and just try it out on a bunch of target dummies. It does pierce infinitely. You see we've gone up to like 750,000 damage. I think it's time now to test this on some bosses. So let's summon Providence. I like to test things on Providence. It's a good way to see how strong a weapon is. And it's kind of hard to hit Providence because she wants to fly away from you. So it's a bit of a struggle here. Okay, now we can do some damage. There we go. If we could land our hits a little bit better, that would have been a lot quicker. Let's try this on the Devourer of Gods as well. And let's just see. It's doing pretty well. It's kind of tricky, but not too bad. Yeah, this wouldn't be my first choice for it because it's hard to do those head hits. But if you can land a few head hits, it's pretty good. I mean, I might just try the body hits. It's doing pretty well against just the body. It completely destroys the ads though, those little worms that get spawned. And we're almost done with phase 1, and I think I may just skip phase 2 because this is a bit of a slow weapon to use on the Devourer of Gods. There's plenty of other weapons that you'd want to choose instead. So next I want to see how this works on an invasion. I'm doing the Solar Eclipse, and this is the endgame version of it, so it's pretty tricky. So this is gear that you would have around the time you unlock the Solar Eclipse. So this is about as hard as it would be, and you can see it's doing really well. Okay, so let's go ahead and try this out against the Jungle Dragon Yharon. I think that would be an interesting fight. I don't know if it's going to be very feasible, but I'm just curious. We have to stay really close to the boss, and this is the gear we would have during a phase 1 fight. Oh my goodness, I wouldn't recommend this. This is a bit stressful, being this close to the Yharon at all times. Yeah, I don't know. I would prefer a ranged melee weapon. I guess you could just dodge his attacks and then go in once when you have like adrenaline or something. Yeah, maybe that's what I'll do. I'll just charge in with adrenaline and miss all my shots like that because he puts a fire tornado down. Ooh, this is a hard way to do Yharon. Run. The Cosmic Discharge is good for a lot of things, but probably not this. You probably want to use like the Galaxy Smasher. That would be probably your best bet on this fight. There's probably a few other good melee weapons, but not necessarily this. It can really crank out the damage once when you get close enough though. Oh, he went invincible. Why? Well, at least we've got rage again, and we can stand still and get our regen going. Oh, until he comes and knocks into us. Okay, let's heal. Honestly, the part where he's chasing you is pretty good to use this weapon. Like when he's dashing past you and stuff. Oh no, we're at 20%. I knew we would die, but we got really close. 12.8%. And if we were doing a phase 1 clear, we would have gone down to like 10%, and that would have been good. Overall, the Cosmic Discharge is an incredible weapon, especially when you get it right after the Devourer of Gods. It can just do massive amounts of damage. The problem with it, though, is that you're really looking for gear that can help you against Yharon, and this really isn't going to help you too much against Yharon. As you can see, that was a very challenging fight. If I would have used some of the other melee options at this point in the game, I would have been able to defeat Yharon pretty well. So this is a good weapon, I'd say, against events, and it's really nice when you're underground and stuff. You can shoot through the ground and you can kill enemies around you. It's a very nice weapon, also quite cool to have, and it crafts into the Apotheosis later on, so it's a valuable one to acquire, but it's not going to help you that much against Yharon. I could see this being useful on the last part of the fight when it's chasing you really closely. This will pump out a ton of damage, and if you can land your shots pretty well as you dodge, that would be pretty useful. But if you're doing like a true melee or something like that, this could be a cool option. This was a fun item to review, and I hope you all enjoyed the video and found it helpful. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe. I also post lots of other content, including 1.4 showcase videos and more modded content. I'm currently finishing up a Master Mode Melee playthrough, so if you're interested, be sure to check that out. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.